Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to Holistic and Well. Welcome back to my channel, my space. I'm Wendy. If this is your first time tuning in, I super appreciate it. If this is your 15th time tuning in, I super appreciate it. So today is part 2 of the Understanding CBD series. This was a requested series. And hey, if you've got some questions or a topic that you want to know about, put it in the comments down below so I can get going on that and I can get some information to you. So one of the common questions that is posed to me is, can I take CBD for blank? Whatever it is, fill in the blank. And it's super important to me that you understand CBD and how that works in the system. So part 2. First part, we talked about the endocannabinoid system. If you haven't watched that, back out of this one, go watch that one, and then come on back in, because it will make more sense as I'm going through the cannabinoids. So there are literally over 100 cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. The ones that we know primarily are CBD, which stands for cannabidiol, and THC, which is tetrahydrocannabinol. Ha! Say that 3 times fast. And there's a couple of actual different THCs, Delta 9, Tetra blah blah blah, Delta 9, Tetra blah blah blah. Delta 9 THC is what actually makes you sleepy, which actually contributes to the high. So let's talk about the different cannabinoids. So last time we talked about the cannabinoids that are made naturally within our bodies, the endo, E-N-D-O cannabinoid. Now, they are small molecules that hang out with fat, and once the receptors are activated, those molecules hang out with the receptors, they connect, and basically when an imbalance happens, that receptor says, hey, we need some help, and that's when the cannabinoids come to save the day, kind of like that white flag. Well, maybe not, because the white flag is when you surrender. The flare. Think of endo as the receptors, the CB1 and the CB2 receptors, as a flare. And then you've got the natural occurring cannabinoids that come to help reestablish that homeostasis. Now what happens is that the receptor receives the endocannabinoid. It is made and used at that moment. It's not something that you store in your body. And basically, metabolic enzymes break it down and you flush it out of your system. So it doesn't hang out in your body. And that's where endocannabinoids and phyto, which the plant cannabinoids, differ. So our body does not immediately break up those cannabinoids and get them flushed out. They hang out for a while. So the phytocannabinoids are similar, except that the CBD, which is commonly associated to medicinal use and is primarily received through the CB2 receptor, although sometimes the CBD and the other medicinal cannabinoids will go through CB1, but primarily they go through the second receptor, which is going to be your immune system, your pain regulation, your circadian rhythm, your hormone balance, a lot of different things. So the CBD goes through the CB2 receptor, and THC, the cannabinoid that has the psychoactive, that high piece, primarily goes through CB1, which, remember, is the central nervous system. And all those receptors primarily are in your brain. And so what happens is that you, again, have this phytocannabinoid that attaches to fat, is received by the receptor, but you don't have the breakdown by the metabolic enzyme. So it hangs out for a longer period of time, creating balance and helping the body do whatever the body needs. Now, CBD will address a ton of problems. Insomnia, hormone balance, pain, anxiety, mood, a lot of different, it's about 12 to 14 different things that have been shown that CBD will help with. Now, THC, we know, helps with pain. It helps their studies have shown it helps with some cancer, attacking cancers. Again, I'm going to share a link in the description with some places that you can go and do your own research, because I believe that research and being empowered with information is so important. Now, when those cannabinoids go and answer the call to the receptors and they help restore balance, what can happen sometimes is that the receptors are overactive for whatever reason, and that kind of creates an imbalance too. And so sometimes one of the reasons why we have inflammation is that those receptors are overactive. The receptors are saying, hey, we need to balance this stuff out, when in reality you don't. And so what happens is when that imbalance happens is that inflammation begins to grow. And when that inflammation begins to continue to be a perpetual problem, that's when the other chronic illnesses will kick in. So that's sometimes where the insomnia comes from, when our circadian rhythm is not operating properly. That can be our blood pressure going up. That can be our blood sugar is not regulated properly. True story. Last year, when I really became involved and opened my store, I was struggling with having type 2, on that borderline of type 2 diabetes. So between lifestyle change, diet change, and consistent use of CBD as well as some other herbals, I was able to bring my blood sugar fasting at about 101, which again is right there on that borderline, to now my fasting sugar is about 77 to 80, which is really good. Now, you know, I tell people all the time, CBD is not a magic bullet. It's not, you pop it or you put it on your tongue or however you take it and voila, everything goes away. That's not the way this works, because it has to be in combination with other things. But I do want you to understand that it does do what it's supposed to do as long as you do what you're supposed to do environmentally. So that's about it on cannabinoids today. You have the endo, ENDO, which naturally is occurring. You have the phytocannabinoids, which are a ton of them, but we primarily know CBD and THC. THC is the psychoactive, can get you high, and the CBD is more medicinal and helps with balance and helping you to feel better. So tune in next week. We're going to talk about how you take those in and the pros and cons of each one of those methods of consuming. So if you've liked this content, give me that thumbs up, give me some subscribe action, share, like, tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad. Lots of older people that are beginning to really feel the pain. I dealt with so many people that came to the store that had life-changing events happen because they began to use CBD as well as change lifestyle stuff. And that means diet, that means liquor consumption, that means bedtime routine. I remember this older gentleman, he probably was 75, 77, and he loved golf. And he was so sad when he came in because his knees, he had had knee surgery on both knees. And of course we know what goes along with that. And his knees would really hurt when he would go to golf. And so he said to me, I've tried everything and this is my last thing that I can try. And I could tell from his demeanor and the way that he was talking that he was really sad and he was mourning that part of his life that he no longer had. And so we talked about this and he said, well, I'm going to try it. I don't know if it's really going to work. And I said, hey, all you can do is try it. And he came back probably 2 weeks later, and he was a different man, not only in his demeanor, but you could tell by the way his body was moving. And it just really makes my heart smile. So that's why I do this, is because I love to hear when people come back and say, this is how my life was impacted. So put in the comments below what you'd like to talk about. I would love to address different topics. Let me know what you want to talk about. Until next time, You could be anywhere in the world doing anything, but you're here, and I super appreciate it. Thank you so much. Take care, and until next week, stay holistic and well. Bye-bye.